I'm sitting in a hotel room and I just watched the speech, part of it. The chips are just going to fall the rest of the way in his direction. And um, I just want to talk about how I feel. So I don't feel despair. I'm actually not surprised. I pulled cards earlier today, like the last time he ran against Hillary Clinton. And one of the cards that came out had his eyes, and it was with the Ace of Wands. And there was a Ten of Swords in there and a Two of Swords, you know, which you could have read as defeat. But I didn't read the card so much as I read his eyes in the card, and I thought, ugh, that's that same feeling. He's gonna get it. And I went through rounds of feelings, and I took a long drive, and I just sort of let things play out because there's nothing we can really do after the ballots are cast. This is the way it works. This is why it's important that you set aside a single issue and you vote to prevent the horror from happening. But now it's just going to happen. So there's not really anything we could do about that except prepare ourselves for what's next in the best way that's possible. But what do we do in the interim? Because we have months to prepare for this. November, what's remaining, December, and then January. January comes. There's nothing we can really do. We did our part. We voted, right? That's the part that we can do. But now there's nothing to do. Like we can hope that good old Jack has something up his sleeve or whatever. But people voted despite his track record, but despite his criminality, despite all of those things, on the empty promises. A lot of the fallout that we experienced was directly because of his administration, and now we're going to see that happen again. So it's going to be an interesting 4 years. I mean, that's supposed to be the term of a presidency, right? And there's all sorts of things in there to say about, environmentalism and the rights of everyone, really, sort of potentially going down the tubes, because the Senate races don't look too good too, but we may not know that until maybe Thursday, because there's a lot of things to be counted there. But autocrats have a way of getting rid of their opponents, so I could be speculating, I could be being bombastic. I don't feel like I am, but just based on this history, I'll say that. So what do we do in the interim? Well, you always have choice. You always have choice. You always have choice to choose what you do in this moment, to choose what you do in the next moment, and the next, and tomorrow, and the next day, and the day after. I am in the blue state. I am in California. And I feel pretty safe here. Not everybody is in the same place. And I'm sorry if you live somewhere where it's not. I know what it's like to have been in those places. But do the things that ground and anchor you. That means to help you be in your body and feel comfortable in your body in the best way possible. Not trying to make you do anything, but hug a tree, put your feet in the grass, make sure you have plenty of water. Are you resting? Are you eating? Did you poop? All of those things. Talk to friends, gather with community, organize. When disaster happens, we organize, we get together, we do what needs to be done. And that's what needs to happen, is we need to do what needs to be done. And that is preparing for what's next. And we don't know what's next. We have no idea what's next. We have no idea. We didn't know what was going to happen today. It looked good to me, but I felt like there was something unseen. There was a bigger thing that was going to happen. He's just given his victory speech, right? with all of the usual bombastic, flair and those sorts of things, and that's who he is. So, what do we do after that? We have to organize, we have to knit our communities, we have to weave togethers, You have to think about the long term in this. If you were worried about death in other countries, that's going to get a whole lot worse now. If you were worried about your rights, that could potentially get a lot worse now. There is that Project 2025. If you were worried about, pick some things, the statements around the records there, all of that can be looming, and all of that can throw us into a tailspin. How do I say this? You are your best when you don't allow yourself to get stuck in that tailspin. I'm not saying you're not going to go into it. I'm not saying that you're not going to have that moment. You're not going to cry. You may be crying. You may be whatever it is that you're doing to process this. Hopefully it's feeling and not drowning it, right? Not doing something to numb yourself. But I mean, honey, if that's whatever you're doing for you, as long as it's healthy, and making you feel better, then, I'm for it. But don't live there. Don't live in despair. Don't live in apathy. Don't live in I don't care. Because that's exactly what puts us in a defensive position. That makes democracy pliable. People who are voting for democracy pliable is that we get in these defensive positions, and then we're being attacked at 6 different angles, and then we break off into splinters, and we're each defending some little portion, but we're no longer woven together, and we're not fighting for each other. We're only fighting for certain things, and if you're not, then you're the enemy also, and suddenly, we're having a battle over 92 different things, and they lockstep to the polls, and they win. But more than that, when you are in a tailspin, when you are in that place of fear and I don't care and I don't know what to do, that's a vulnerability. And I just invite you to come back to your heart, to come back to your body, to come back to your breath, to scream if you need to, punch a pillow, don't hurt yourself, get into the garden, make some comfort food, make your calls to your community, to your circle, to your group. Organize, form your Zoom meetings, get together, and start preparing. Plant your seeds now for what's next. Because we don't know what's coming next, but we can see the lineup already. And if nature, who is already in a tailspin, throws out something else, and she's probably going to because it's not in a great place, we're not going to have the same kind of support that we've had for that. I want to say that I need to know that you're going to get the support you need, because I really want that. But I can't know that. If I know you and you know me, you know how to reach me, and we can have a conversation, and I'm here for that. I don't know what the next will bring. And all I can say is prepare. And the easiest way to prepare now is establish comfort for yourself. Cool the jets. Ground, anchor, root. What do I mean by that? Stretch your body. Take a shower. Feel some senses. Go outside. Hug a tree. Those types of things. And then start to think about the next 90 days. The next 6 months, the next year, and what you're going to do to go forward in that. Because that's really, you're going to need people. We're going to need each other. But we're going to need each other for more than just political battles. We're going to need each other for the day-to-day, for the hand-holding, for the gripes over coffee or whiskey, whatever you're drinking, for the tears, for the rage, for the fun and games and the things that we need to keep us laughing. And I think if you can tap into your creativity, whatever that looks like for yourself, and I'm not just talking about drawing, dancing, or singing, whatever you are creative with in which you can express yourself, find a tool for your expression. We need that art that you can bring. And I'm not talking about art on a wall, right? I'm talking about the art of you, your creative expression to the table. We need that in the world because that energy is what, not only as an artist, not only does that energy express through me instead of into an art piece, it doesn't just live inside me as frustration. It goes somewhere. It's something. It doesn't need to be monetized, right? It's just created. It also lends to the story, to the moment, to the other voices that are there. It adds to that. Where can you begin to share your voice in these things? And I think that that's really important. We don't know what the year will bring, but we can organize. We can weave together. We can learn not to be split apart over issues. We can learn to stand together and make shit happen. Start in your house, in your neighborhood. We think community, we think only the community that we like. But community is also, it's the people that live next door to us. It's the people that live around us. And when we shut those people out, when we go so far as to sort of ban them, we block them, we ended a conversation that may have changed a mind. More than that, we may close the door on a hand that we may need later or that may need us. When things collapse, it's not just your preferred people who are going to be around you, right? This is a collapse in a lot of ways. So how can you organize? How can you begin to prepare for those sorts of things? And then eventually prepare for the people who are not so cool, who are not so great, that are not going to organize and that are going to be intentionally destructive. And what are we going to do about that too? And I ultimately think you need to feel to be in your body, from my own practice, to feel comfortable in your own skin and to have a creative outlet and to be able to have your preferred community for which you feel enriched and to also have your hands in the soil of the community and the neighborhood, the area where you live, so that you can start to make those changes there, even if it's just establishing peace for what's to come. We're going to need all hands, not just the ones we want. I don't like the way that this turned out today. I'm not surprised. I believed, I hoped that the Harris Walls, that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz would reach the people that really needed to be reached. And I'm not going to guess at the reasons that they didn't. They just didn't. And that is, as they say, what it is. We have the opportunity to make a choice right now. What is that choice going to be? What is your choice going to be? What is the embodied, creative, comfort, building choice that you're going to make now and in the days to come? And that's the way that I would think about it. We're in that slide between the end of the witch's year and the beginning of the new year, magically speaking. That's between Samhain and Yule. So this is a perfect time to sort of think about what you want to plant for the new year on the winter solstice. These are things that grow over a long period of time. They may not sprout until the spring, that don't fruit maybe until the autumn, right? These are long-term plans. Think about the big movements. Think about the day-to-day. Consider it all. Consider it all. And if this election has taught me anything, watching other people's surety in their own ability, their own psychic premonition, that sort of thing. Get a reading from somebody else. Go somewhere else and get an outside perspective on your plans. We don't have all the answers. At least we don't have all the answers at the fore where we see them. And going to someone else for a reading, going to someone else for a healing, going to someone else for direction helps us to see where our blind spots are. And I think I'll end on that. Remember, a reading, a spiritual experience, these types of things that draw us from the present and cross the hedge so that we're sort of standing between the worlds to receive the information we need to hear. This is not always going to be what we want to hear. It's not always going to feel good, but it is going to be what we need to hear, what we need to do, despite the popular, that spirituality, that this is all here for you and all about you. It is, but maybe not in the way that you think. And it is also for everyone and everything, because the earth and all of the spiritualness is not just here for people. Otherwise, we could exist without everything else. We can't. So get some insight, get some rest. Take a few days if you can. Breathe through this. And if you can't, call, talk, don't text. Don't text, don't message. Call, connect, meet in person. Touch. And connect. And think about tomorrow. And that's what I gotta say about this. I'm here. Blessed be, blessed be, blessed be. Or blessed be times 3, as I like to say. And I'll talk to you soon.